All right. Well, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Second Opinion Loan Officer Podcast. I'm really excited today. I hope it sounds like it because I'm also fighting a little bit of a cold. But I have one of my favorite mortgage influencers and content creating guys on here today, Alan Christian. Um, I mean, this Alan. First, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you coming on. You know, Alan's one of these guys that like I've met you in person a couple of times. I know you're the mayor of Roswell, Georgia. I never knew there was a Roswell, Georgia before I met you. But I know for an absolute fact that if I just showed up unannounced in Roswell, Georgia, I would know exactly who I would be talking to and exactly what that conversation around that beer is going to be like.
That's right. That's right.
And I know you would welcome me like without a doubt. So I wanted to bring Alan on because he is doing some really cool stuff around relationship
Oh, you
building.
got the preacher stripper one going. That was a good one.
Oh, dude, that one, I loved that one. Like that one. And so I kind of want to go through each one of these. I kind of want to talk about
The next best one was the "What's up, nigga." I'm just gonna tell you, I had somebody call me today from Washington State that called, and that's the first thing he said. And he's like, "Man, you and I have got to be friends." It was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like what I love about you is you're just so transparent and you don't hold back. You're just such a sincere guy and your heart is always on your sleeve. And you put yourself in these social situations that like make my skin crawl. Like I'm not an extrovert. I don't talk to people, but like you, like this middle one, you meet these random people on the airplane and like, I don't even know where to start. Let's start with this preacher stripper one because you're pretty provocative. I mean, clearly,
Man, I'm holding back. I will tell you, I will start off the first thing. One of my greatest accomplishments is me keeping my mouth shut because there's so many things that take place that I do want to talk about that I don't. But I also look at it and say, what do people, what do they want to hear and what do they want to see? And they really don't want to see all of these canned used car salesman content out there with call outs and texts and all this garbage everywhere. The biggest compliment I get is, man, I feel like I'm sitting down at your kitchen table talking to you and you're talking about, and I have loan officers that reach out and say, man, you're talking about stuff that everybody's thinking but nobody's saying. And that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm just trying to be real. If you and I were sitting down at a picnic table having a glass of tea, man, let's just talk. That's what I'm trying to get after.
Yeah. And this is something that I try to always relate to the audience is when you're a content creator, you're attracting the type of people that are attracted to you.
Right.
Because you're putting yourself out there. They know, like, and trust you before they even reach out. So like they're calling you from Washington and like commenting on a video that you did maybe a year ago, but they just watched it today and they're like, hey, Alan, remember that thing you said? And you're like trying to scramble. When did I do that video? It's the weirdest dynamic. And, I interviewed you on a different podcast that I did with some friends of mine when you were using video for all of your offers and you were creating video. I assume you're still doing that.
Got one accepted today, about an hour ago. Sure did.
Yeah. So I didn't bring on examples of that, but you are just the all around, like you're using video not to, gosh, I don't even know. It doesn't feel like list building, right? So it's not list building at all. It's relationship building.
That is exactly what it is.
So, but you do this all the time. Do you find that, because I'm telling everybody, this is a market that you build your database. You build your buyer database as big as you can. but I think it also works with just building a huge audience and a
Yeah,
huge reputation, because you have such an engaged audience because of your transparency and your authenticity,
right.
that anything you post, you're going to get 200 or 300 reactions, and
Yeah.
double digits in comments, high double digits in comments. So you,
And you'd be surprised how many send me a private message. That's the thing that rocks me. It's like somebody sent me one this morning. It was 4 paragraphs long. And I
yes,
thought, well, man, why don't you comment? Because it was the one about the airplane. And this guy, it was a defining moment in his life with the stuff he's been seeing. And I did the guy's loan 4 years ago, and I didn't know he was even looking at my stuff. And I'm like, well, why didn't you put it on the page? Well, sometimes people feel like it's too personal and they're going to see them. Either way, it's making an impact.
it's absolutely making an impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's so let's talk about these posts. Let's talk about each one of these posts, because these kind of cover three different styles of content that I'm seeing you do.
Yeah.
So let's, and I really, really like this first one. So anybody that's watching this, I recommend that you go to Alan's Facebook wall and
Yeah.
just scroll down and watch some of these things. Do you want to kind of explain? Let's start with the preacher stripper one.
I'll tell you, here's the thing. People wonder, who are you working with, Alan? Are you the blue collar guy? Or are you the corporate guy? I mean, who's your clientele?
Hmm.
Everybody. And like every single person I mentioned here is legit. Helped a preacher, helped a stripper, helped a guy that was in prison, I mean, I've helped everybody, but people don't know that. And they're like, well, and I almost want to have a picture of me in my suit and then on the tractor, on the motorcycle, whatever. Every single one of these people are real stories. But I also do that because I don't want people looking at me thinking, well, Alan looks like he fits into this little bubble, this little box, or whatever it is. Maybe I can't call Alan, or maybe he can't help me, or maybe it's like, no, everybody matters wherever you are. And that was really the purpose of this. I hit every single spectrum of the community. And I had somebody, like, we stalk our clients before we talk to them. And I had somebody, their Facebook page was listed National Socialist Party. They were communists, man. They were a true, I mean, and my assistant said, do you want to call this person? And I'll tell you, they probably referred more people to me that year than anybody. And they knew where I stood. They looked at me, it didn't matter. And that's important because, once again, I'm helping them buy a house. And yeah, the money still spins the same way. They're important, they're unique and special, and it's okay. But it's about being you.
Yeah, so to describe for people watching this, if you're watching this on the video format, the video was essentially, it was about, I don't know, it seemed like it was longer than 30
It
seconds
was
with,
7 minutes long.
well, the beginning part was
Yeah.
just you holding up signs,
Yes.
and just like you see preacher slash stripper, and
Yeah.
you kind of had this polarity on each card, and
Right.
you went through like 10 or 15 cards, and each one there was like a polarizing thing. So you're
Right.
sitting there going, what the hell is Alan doing? Like,
Yeah.
why is he talking about all this stuff? And then you went through and you started telling stories, and then we discover, watching your video, that each one of those was a borrower that you worked with. And,
Absolutely.
and yes, the
Mhm.
stripper story was hilarious.
Yeah. It's real.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah.
But like that was really, really just amazing. And that's so important, because especially when we work in niches, it's
Yeah.
like anything that you create content about, like if you're doing a content on a video on VA, this happens a lot with people in the VA niche.
Right.
Well, I didn't know you did anything other than VA. Or the best one is, oh, do you do refinances?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like you hear that all the time, and you're like, ma'am, I actually prefer refinances.
Right. Right.
Whatever the case is. So, okay, so what kind of did you get a response off of the preacher stripper
Oh, yeah.
video?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I still, it is amazing that people still go back in and see these. And there are folks that I had a realtor go in and pull the video and send it to one of their clients before they introduced me and said, you need to go watch this because they fit into, I'm not going to tell you which one, but they fit into one of those categories to say, it's okay calling. And they watch the video and they just like you, they talk about, I watched your video. I'm like, ain't it great? That's the connection. Because that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to share enough of about myself, and we all have so many facets to our life, but most people only see a small, small sector of it. I want to share all of this because I am a chameleon in so many areas, but if I don't tell people that, they're not going to know it. So that's what I'm trying to do partially in the process of doing these.
Now, I absolutely love that. Let's talk about this middle one, because you do a lot of this where, and again, I'm just always so impressed. Like, you meet these strangers and you end up talking to them, and you extract these absolutely heartwarming stories sometimes from these
Yeah.
people. Like the one that I really remember was some gentleman that was a waiter at a place that you were at, and you started talking to him,
Yeah.
and he was like some mogul that was retired that just liked talking to people. Like, he was a
Yes.
successful
Yes.
business owner and was rich and didn't need the money,
That's
but
right.
he just liked talking to people. Now, the thing that I really liked about this one is, like, first of all, you rarely, one of the things that I really like is, and I don't know if you do this on purpose or if this is just the way that it happens, but it seems like you're always breaking cultural stigmas and barriers. Like, you're not just going in and talking to people that look like you and sound like you. It's like, I think the thing that I like about you is you approach people that don't look like you or sound like you,
Yeah, man.
or that you would ever think would ever talk to you, but you do.
That is, I will say, is it intentional? No, it's not really like I look through the crowd and say, I'm going to go talk to that person. But if somebody is next to me, I am going to talk to them. And it does make a difference to me because once again, I don't want people to think, oh, Alan's so, college educated, got a custom suit and that's all he talks to. No, I talk to a homeless guy on the side of the road. I talk to every single, sector of the community, and everybody matters. And it does. And I'll say this,
Yep.
I grew up in the South. I live in the South. I was raised a racist. I'm just going to say it out loud, and I
Oh,
still have it
wow.
in my blood because that's the way I live in a community that way. And I was raised that way. And it was a common thing for way people to talk. And it bothers me. And I broke through that. And now I look at it, and the barriers that are being perpetuated, I want to try to do something to break that down. So sometimes, just like these guys, they stopped for just a second and paused. They paused looking at me, and I wanted to break through that and say, maybe I'm the only guy that actually has done something to be nice to them of a different color for whatever reason. So I'll just tell you, I reach out to everybody because I don't want them to feel like, hey, this guy's not like me and he's not going to talk to me. And maybe I'm the guy, maybe I'm the 15th guy that's had an impact on their life like that, that makes them see the world and see humanity in a different way. So there is a purpose behind that.
Yeah, I mean, you are definitely showing them a different aspect. I mean, because especially if they live in that area, in that community
It's
that
true.
is
Yeah.
traditionally oppressive, and somebody like you, white as the snow, the
Yeah,
wind-driven
man.
snow that we
Yeah.
call it, with the Southern accent. My favorite thing about that post is, in the comment thread, one of your fans
Oh
ran
my gosh.
into them in the airport and
Yes.
also took a picture
Yes. You
that
saw
looks
that.
that
Yes.
looks a
Yes.
lot like that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
Isn't that great?
those guys must be tripping out. They're like, "Who is this Alan guy?
That's right.
Why do people keep coming up to us in the airport?"
Yeah. That's the first time that's ever happened, but that was great.
That was hilarious, man. I loved
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And
And
you have to know this. Everybody on the plane was watching this. This is not, I mean, it's not a little small thing. And I did intentionally bring that out, and I try to have fun and bring people in. But I want people around to see that, because you could almost feel it when they came down and they paused. I looked around and I could see people. I got the cowboy hat on, like, oh gosh, where's this going? Which tells me people still have that in their mind, but they were watching. And when I stood up to help these guys and talk to them, you could just feel like, hey, that's a super cool thing to do. And
Okay, so you were seated and they came up to your
oh yeah,
row.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they're like, "Oh man, we got to sit next to this redneck."
It's good. Well, but yeah, once again, just different. That's all it is. Just something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, gosh, I love this so much, and I almost want to put a public service announcement or a viewer warning. Do not try this yourself unless you're an authentic human being. Like, you can't fake this stuff.
Yeah,
And it's like you truly go into this, you're truly trying to build relationships and connect people and break down barriers.
I am.
And you're just, it's almost like you get excited when you see an uncomfortable situation, because you're just like,
I
I'm
do.
going to diffuse this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to turn this thing upside down.
Yeah.
And
People that have been, they think, is this real? My friends that have been around me and have watched this and experienced it, I can see them now watching this going, oh my gosh, I was there when that happened and that happened. It's real. But I will tell you, I am truly, I'm an extroverted introvert. So I'm not like this all the time, but in small blocks of 5 minutes, man, I can kill it. And this is just something that, and somebody did say, oh, well, you're just lucky and you're gifted or whatever. And yeah, I do have a personality for this, but I will tell you, I trained myself to learn how to interact with other people. If you saw the number of books I read from the time I was 20 to 30 on how to bring out the best in people, win friends and influence people, I've read so many of those things. This is something that I mastered, and I'm good at it. And is it something that just came to me? It's not. It's not, because that I feel like that's a participation award and you just gave it to me. Oh, it's just natural. No, I honed my craft doing this. Now, I truly love people. That is the only thing. I truly love people. There is no ulterior motive, anything whatsoever, except for recognizing them and making them feel connected. And when I leave there, feel better about themselves. That's it. Now,
yeah,
business comes from it. And one of the stories is going to be my $20,000 Uber ride. Well, why is that? Well, you meet an Uber guy, you talk to him, and you get a phone call, and you help two people that he refers you to, or three. What did that call? What was that
you
worth?
did that.
Oh yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
This stuff. This is. I mean, this is real. This
Oh,
and business comes from it on these one-to-one interactions. But that's not why I do it.
no,
But sharing this stuff, and as we go through some of these, this is such a difference of me searching out other people. I know nobody wants a cold call. They don't know who I am from anything. But this is different because, Scott, you said it. When you share who you are, other people are going to gravitate to you and say, man, I resonate with that guy. I like that guy. I'm like that guy. And then they call me. And because there's something I shared that they can connect with, and they feel like you're the kind of person that I want to work with because you've got my same values. Well, how do they find out? By me calling 40 calls every Monday? No, it's because I'm sharing this. And I didn't expect this to happen. I did not. And it happens on a regular basis. People just call and say, man, I've been following you for 6 months. Is there any way that I could buy you coffee? It's
wow.
different. That's different than what we used to do.
How long would you say that you've been purposely trying to produce this kind of content?
The class I really need to do, excuse me, want to do is like how I got on social media probably 2.5 years ago and how it's completely changed my world. I
Yeah.
didn't know that this was going to come from it. All of a sudden, it took about 6 months, and I didn't really know what I was doing or why. Nobody was, I mean, I feel like nobody's doing it like this. I look at everybody
Wow.
else's stuff saying, that's not what I want to do. And this has been the greatest way I have found to connect with people of anything I've ever done in my career. And when they call and we connect, it's wonderful. And if we don't know each other that well and they go look at some of my things, it's like, man, I feel like I know who you are. So it's been a couple of years, but it's slowly growing. And as you see, I don't do a ton of stuff about loans and
No,
mortgages and market.
really.
but my phone rings off the hook from people because they know what I do. But that's not why they're calling me. It's because everything else around it.
Yeah, you always have your name, you always have your phone number, you always have what you do.
Yeah.
Your tags are usually,
Not
relevant.
always, because I don't. Some of them, it's like doing a Merry Christmas post, and then you got your real estate company and all that garbage. Well, that's not a sincere post. I know it, and you know it. Some of these they're just some cool things. Others, yeah, there's enough of a business thing that I'm going to tie some stuff into it. I want them to be pulled in by some of these just regular life content. So then maybe the third or fourth post, it is a business post, and they call me or they reach out, something like that.
The greatest compliment that I ever got from my website is while I was on having a conversation with the person on the phone, they
Mhm.
stopped and they said, "Man, you sound just like your website."
That is what you want,
And
isn't it?
I was so happy. I was just like, that's because I just write from my heart.
That's
And
it.
I also have this theory that, the internet and social media, and it's funny that we say social media connects people, but in reality, social media creates this false reality, I think, where everybody only puts the positive stuff on there. And I think human beings are desperate for
Oh yeah,
vulnerability and true and real relationships. And that's what you do. You're a true and genuine person. Even if you have videos with, with a bunch of, bells and whistles and stuff, if that's the same conversation, if that's the same cadence and the
yeah,
same character and the same personality as if they were sitting on the other side of the desk from you or
right.
next to you, then it's good. It's okay. It's authentic. This other one that you did, it's just about your community. It's hyper
That was
local. It's
yeah.
about what's going on in your community. Uh,
Mhm.
so I have a question. How many times a day do random people come up to you and say, "Hey, Alan Christian"?
When I'm out in the community, it's very common. It got to the point where my wife said I can't go in the grocery store with her because she know and because I see people and people see me come up and say hey, and I do like engaging them. And sometimes that could be a negative. It's like I want to get in and out of here in 5 minutes. I don't want to be here for 20 minutes, so don't talk to anybody.
Alan
So
with a
there's
fake
but
mustache.
it's a wonderful thing. Here's I met somebody last week reached out said I've been following you for 6 months. Is there any way we can meet? And I said, man, I'm gonna be at the coffee shop tomorrow morning. Meet me there. And we did. And when they showed up, when we walked through from getting coffee, from the time we got coffee, we walked out the front porch and sat out, like four people came up to me. And one person was a realtor that I've not met. And she came and says, oh my gosh, you're Alan Christian. We're in the same community, blah, blah, blah. And this other guy's watching it. That's kind of social proof for what you're doing that people know you. So it's a good thing. And that really is my goal with all of this is I don't necessarily want every realtor's business. But what I do want to do is my brand about who I am and what I stand for and what I represent. I want it to be plastered out there so everybody sees that. So if I call and I've got a closing on a transaction tomorrow, we call the listing agent and she said, I know exactly who you are. I know what you stand for and I know what you represent. We'll take your contract. And that's because she's been following and seeing what I do. So that's what I'm trying to put out. So I don't really do they really know me? Well, they do. And that's the goal.
Well,
But if you don't share who
know
you
the
are,
person.
they're not going to know it.
Yeah, they know the person on the videos, and the person
Correct.
on the videos is you. It's authentic.
Right.
It's just you. They're gonna have the same experience. They're gonna
Yep.
know you. I have a friend that has that she moved from California to the Big Island, Hawaii,
Mhm.
and I helped her put. I've got to get her on this podcast because she's amazing. She's in real estate now, but she has a YouTube channel and she has a blog. And I went out and visited her a couple of weeks ago. We were walking down a random beach that it
Yeah.
required a four-wheeler to get to. And some guy sitting on the beach and he's like, Kona 365. And it's like, we
Love it.
couldn't go anywhere without people shouting out their names. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's taken a few years to do it, but it's just like with my website gets, 20,000 plus visitors a month.
Amazing
And
too.
it's like, yeah, that's cool, but it took 12 years.
Yes.
So like, this is what I'm trying to help my audience here is understand. If you're a little bit slower right now, it makes it invest in this, invest in creating content,
Yeah.
especially with these natural language AI models that are coming out. It's going to I think it's going to be more. I called it a paradigm shift. I had actually a professor correct me. He believes it's going to be a quantum shift in the way that we interact with information on the internet.
I'm
And
with it.
I've seen examples of it. And it's not going to be search engine results anymore. It's going to be natural language result. And it's only going to be able to tell people about you if you can be found on Google or Bing or a search engine.
Right.
And that's not necessarily your Facebook threads. Like that stuff isn't going to come up. So we've got to start thinking about taking the stuff off of social, repurposing it, turning them into blog posts, getting them published,
Yep.
making sure all of I published a video yesterday on Chat GPT and reputation management, and I was shocked. Like, I've been writing for over a decade, and so I was super impressed with what came back for me. But like, I'm showing all of my friends, and it's all like, well, we only have data up to 2021, so this person doesn't seem to be a prominent person in the mortgage industry. And I'm like, ooh, we're gonna have to fix that.
Yeah.
Like, if you type in a Chat GPT, what does Alan Christian do in mortgage? And
Right.
just see what it comes back with. And
Yes.
if it doesn't come back with something that you like, we got to start updating your social profiles so that they have all the information, and
Yep.
start getting that content someplace. Get it on YouTube, get it on a blog.
That's what I'm having to do, because I'll tell you, most of my stuff has been on Facebook because I couldn't keep up with the other. Right now, a big campaign is taking all of this content here and repurposing it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm planning to write, I've got 2 different books that I'm working on. One of them is going to be related to all these connections with people, but it's about repurposing it here and then putting it in all these other locations that if people go search me, they can find it.
Yeah, and even like LinkedIn articles, like things like that.
Right.
It's like, we've got to, I think, smart loan officers today, you're doing everything you absolutely can to bring in business today, but the market is limited.
Yep.
If you have the time, really start doubling down and investing on creating this content and putting it out there, and don't look for slick, don't look for slick sales strategies. These aren't commercials or advertisements. Let them know who they're going to work with.
Yep.
I got to ask you this. What is your favorite, what is your favorite, like, maybe not even favorite, but what was, do you have one interaction, one video that like just really stands out for you? Do you have one that, I mean, there's so many of them that I see that just blow my mind. Do you have a favorite that turned out better than you expected or worse than you expected?
Man, it's hard for me to ever say I have a favorite anything or a favorite friend or color. I like them all. There's not any, I will say one that was just so neat to me. I was coming back through Alabama, and I saw this huge group of people on the side of the road. I'm like, what in the world's going on? There was a police officer there. I just stopped the car and pulled out, got out of the car and walked over there. And there's this big, huge cow trough in the middle of the field. And there's people everywhere. I'm like, what is going? And I walk up to it, and they're doing baptisms on Sunday. And I had no idea. And I walk up, and I'm right beside it, got my camera and start video. I did a video about it, baptizing some kid in there, and all these people were there. And it was a small town, Alabama. Nobody knew me, which they all knew everybody else. So when we got done, All these people came up and said hey to me, invited me to their house to come over and have dinner with them, hang out. And I did. And it was just such a neat, but that was about, did I plan it? Did I script it? No, I picked it up. I shot record and started walking around. And it was just such a fun, neat thing. And I got so many calls and connections about that. It wasn't about the mortgage business. It was about just being real and having fun. And stuff comes from that. You just never know.
Man, I love that so much.
You just know. But if there's anything advice, I would just say, don't write out your script. Just don't go. You can see some of the ladies, you can tell they've spent 3 hours getting their makeup and their hair and their shirt. Be you, be professional, be regular, be casual, have an idea, and don't script it. Just talk. And if you stumble, it's okay. Just share who you are as a person, and you will have people gravitate to you because of that. And that's where the connection starts.
Yeah. And I don't know if I finished my thought. Maybe I did, but I don't think these social media platforms bring everybody together the way that they expect. So when you're authentic on that platform, you truly stand out, right? Because it's just that's clearly just, this is this person. So, all right, well, man, I'm not quite sure what more to say. I mean, I just I
have a question for you.
For a million years. Oh, you do have questions?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
What can I do better? What do you recommend?
Yeah, no.
Because you watch my stuff, and it means the world to me. What do you like? What do you really like about it versus the other things that are out there? And what would you recommend?
I really, really like it. The things that I would recommend is trying to figure out a way to get it indexed differently.
Okay.
Get it on YouTube and get it on Google, get it on a blog post. It's so important right now, especially with this AI stuff, that we have that indexable. And the cool thing with YouTube, and we were talking a little bit about this, I think before we went live, think about publishing it on Spotify as a video podcast. That's a free service right now on Spotify. You can upload your videos and put all your optimization on there, and it'll show it. I think that would be my best advice, because the experimentation that I've been doing with the natural language AI stuff, I think that's a necessary step to be found once it gets integrated into our search engines. Because listen, I know that we as consumers are super lazy, and there's a reason why Google started doing auto suggest when you start typing. And as soon as you start getting this natural language response, people are going to ignore the search engine results. So like if people want to get information about you, we want to make sure that you're going to be found. So that would be it. I would diversify your publishing platforms and just keep doing more of what you're doing. Awesome. I think it is absolutely the best strategy.
Man, I appreciate you. I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, you have no idea. I appreciate you so much. So, all right. Well, I feel like we've just about exhausted this. I think this was super, super valuable. What's the best way for people to find you if they have questions?
Honestly, the best, jump on my Facebook page. Everything I do is on my personal page. Alan Christian. You can pull it up. You see the original. I've got a cowboy hat on half the time. You can jump on and see me there. My contact information is there, and you can send me a private message from there as well. That's the easiest way. Just hop on there. If you want to find out more about me, you can watch scroll back and see some other things and reach out. That's great. There you go.
Look for that guy right there.
Yeah.
That's that handsome man. Well, brother, I really, really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of this information. I think this is just jam-packed with just really, really good information. Quite frankly, I don't know a lot of people in our industry that have the guts to be themselves in the way that you do, just with just pure authenticity. And I just really, really appreciate that. And thank you for coming on here and for sharing with everybody. If anybody has any questions about what Alan does or what I do, we'll have links down in the details section below on either Spotify or YouTube. And I highly encourage anybody who's watching this to go to Alan's Facebook page, scroll through that, see what that looks like, see what that engagement looks like, and if that's your personality, or if you think you can learn how to be that transparent, it'll pay dividends, but it's going to take time. Right. It takes time to build those relationships. So thank you so much, Ellen. I really appreciate you. And we'll see everybody next time.
Awesome.